Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Lions Den Sport Podcast. Very pleased to have the main man, Alfie Dixon, with us today.
Thank you, mate.
How are you doing?
Good, mate, yeah. Thank you for having me, mate.
Good to have you down, man. It's been a while.
It has indeed, but you're going to be there on Saturday, aren't you?
I am going to be there on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. You told me about some of the great fights that you got coming up, so I'm really keen to see some of those, but I'm very keen to talk about those today as well. But first of all, before we go into the show, want to find out more about you, man.
As you said, I've got RingKingBoxing, which I run with my good friend and business partner Alex Phillips.
Yeah.
RingKingBoxing's been around since 2019, and was founded by Alex, and was to create a platform where boxers can be in a safe environment, give boxing a go, and feel like a pro, basically, which rhymes, of course. So obviously, something that we wanted to do and we were quite passionate about. The main reason why Alex started RingKingBoxing is Alex has got 3 kids. 2 of those have disabilities. So one of them has cerebral palsy and one of them has chronic lung disease. So a lot of the start of the shows was to create funding, create money for the charities that were helping Alex through those hard times. And also the specialist educational divisions, units at the schools to help them with funding and everything else. So that's the kind of foundation of where it come from. And then from that, the passion and the fact that things were going quite well, makes you want to do more and makes you want to join up with other charities and whatever else. So yeah, we've had some success, mate.
How many events have you both run so far altogether? Do you know how much it is?
Together, I would say 5. I might be off by 1 or 2. But I would say, to begin with, from the beginning, I would say about 9. We're on the 9th show now.
You're on the 9th show now, crazy.
Yeah.
And have you noticed the growth in the shows?
Yeah, hugely.
Yeah.
I would say, to begin with, the first show was a big one because I think the type of boxers that you have on the show, it all comes down to the crowds that they bring. At the end of the day, being a white collar unlicensed show, it's all about the support that the boxers are getting. So that was a big part of it. COVID hit obviously in this time, which is why we're on 9 shows and not 15, if you like, because that 2 years was restricting shows like that to go on. But yeah, so we have been growing, mate. Yeah, we've been growing quite fast, and we've got a lot of backing from a lot of, good names in the sport. So,
what backing have you got?
So at the moment, we've got Val Nutrition, who are a fantastic company.
They sponsor Dillian White, right? And his camp.
They do, yeah. So they're let's just say he's sort of head nutritionist.
Wow. What's his name?
His name's Simon.
Simon.
Yeah, so Simon Stevens runs Val Nutrition. He's been a big ambassador of ours and, supports us massively. And we're so thankful for that. We've got Jumbo, so Ian Jumbo Johnson, who I think you've had on this podcast before.
Good friend of the podcast, great guy, yeah.
That's it, mate. So, we've got people like Jumbo who know boxing. These guys are very, very involved, and, to have them involved and help us like they do is huge. Yeah. And then the non-boxing related people, Skip It, Waste Management. We've got Right Pave, we've got Bespoke London Design, to name a few. In the past, we've had other people, JD Moling and big businesses, businesses that are like-minded people who believe in us. And for us, that means the world.
What do you reckon for any young businesses coming through, any young boxers coming through, shall we say? How do they get involved in getting sponsors and getting that sort of background? What sort of advice would you give them? So there's boxers that you've got on the show that have to do the camps, have to pay for strength conditioning, have to pay for physio and stuff. What advice would you give them to get sponsors?
I would say you got to back yourself. You can't just call someone and expect them to sponsor you. Yeah. But what you can do is believe in yourself and have good reason for them to sponsor you. A lot of the time, you can't even measure what you bring to a business for sponsoring. So, it's their hard-earned money. It's, their business's name that they're putting on the line. So they've got to believe in that person. They're not doing it for financial gain. Of course, in the long run, as you grow together, there should be some sort of financial gain. And we're starting to see that for our own sponsors, linking them together as a community, for example, and then starting to use each other's services and people contacting us and saying, oh, who can I use? I see that they sponsor you. Can I have a number? We're starting to see that now. Wow. But the early days, Terry, they're believing in you. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart, make no mistake of that. So if you're a young boxer coming through, and you want someone to sponsor you, reach out, explain to them you understand that this is their hard-earned money, this is them believing in you, and they're putting their business, to you and under their name. So, you've got to kind of let them believe in you as a person in order to make it work.
Wow.
But yeah, it's always worth speaking to people. You can never be scared. All you could get is a no.
So reach out to people is the key.
Reach out to people, speak to them, explain why you want them to sponsor you, explain how they'll be helping you. And, believe it or not, there's a lot of good people out there.
Yeah, that's good, because that's one of the questions we get quite regularly is how do we get sponsors from young boxers on the podcast? So it's really good, that sort of advice. Thank you for that.
That's all right.
I want to talk more about the reasons why you started RingKing Events. Obviously, you said about Alex and, that he started because of his daughters. Why was it boxing? Why was it not any other sports to go down?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. And the reason is we've both come from white-collar backgrounds.
Oh, okay.
So it's a difficult one, and I'm sure we'll go on to this more. But white-collar boxing has perceptions from lots of different people, and it's not always positive.
Including me.
It's not always positive, and again, we'll touch base on that, I'm sure. It's not always a positive perception of white-collar boxing. But why isn't it? Why isn't it all positive? And it's because there's a lot of white-collar promotions out there, and a lot of them are creating what I call circuses. It's like a circus. They haven't got the right mentality for it. They're not professional. I can't comment on what they do, other than the white-collar shows. It could just be that it's their livelihood. I don't know. But there's some people that are running white-collar shows, and the foundations are based on all the wrong principles, in my opinion. Okay, so I'll make that clear. It's my opinion. One thing that we wanted to do was create a platform where boxers come and feel safe. And the only way you could do that is by them trusting you and knowing that you've got their back. Okay. I always make it quite obvious that when you come and fight on our show, you're not just going to be a number. All right. We've got 30 boxers fighting on this show coming up on Saturday, July the 29th. That show's called One Step Beyond. And every one of those 30 boxers know me and Alex. Yeah, they've got contact with us. I'm regularly getting in contact and making sure that they know we're there for them. They know where they could get information from, what to expect on the day. We've been, like I said, we've both come from white-collar backgrounds. One of the fights I signed up to, the whole time, the whole camp, even till after the show, I didn't speak to one of the promoters.
Wow.
Okay, so from the moment of saying yes, go on, and that was through a friend signing me up, if you like, I didn't speak to one of the promoters all the way through, right into the end. Now, to me, it's just, that makes me feel like I'm just a number there. I'm just signing up to fill a space, get in the ring, have a fight, put my health at risk, when the person who I'm fighting for hasn't even thought to give me a call, hasn't even thought to, ask me how I am, how's training going, how's camp going, drop down to the gym to go and see them and everything else. That's what is important to us. For me, you can only be transparent when you know the people that you're dealing with. So, our foundation is going to be based on, and is based on, transparency, honesty, and the fighter's safety. That's a key for us.
And one thing I've noticed from your shows, obviously I've been to 2 of your shows at the moment, currently. Went to the first one. It's my first ever white collar show that I've been to.
Yeah.
Me personally, coming from a traditional boxing background, I was really impressed with how the show was run. Really
appreciate that.
And the second one, I thought, again, you had the new screens up on each side. You had the boxers on screens on there. You had their promo videos up for some of the boxers as well, and it had really a professional feel to it. And that, for someone who's such a traditional boxing, it's quite reassuring to hear something that you're running it properly.
Absolutely, mate. And like I say, there are people who don't, understand the white collar side of things. Yeah. They might have been to a show that, again, wasn't run very well. Yeah. So they're looking in the ring and they're seeing, huge differences with the boxer weights, or, someone's getting pulled out in the first round after 2 minutes because they've realised they haven't had their medical. That comes when you're just overloading a show. Okay. If you try and squeeze 30 to 40 fights on a show, how are you going to deal with that sort of size of show? You're probably benefiting financially from that, but then you've not got your boxers at the heart of what's important.
Yeah.
It's a conveyor belt of boxers, isn't it? It's just one after the other. No way can you keep tabs on all of those people, which is why one of the first things when I got involved with this RingKing Boxing event is I said that we can't have any more than, I would say, 18 bouts. Okay, that's because we believe that's the number where we can keep the quality over quantity.
Really good, really interesting. And as you said, some of the shows have 30 fights, and that's very much all they care about is the money.
Up
30 upwards.
Sometimes more. And it's almost like it's like some shows are boasting about that. Oh, we can get 30, 40 fights on one show. Why would you want to do that unless you're literally only worrying about the money and getting that ticket money in? Why would you want that many fights on a show? Because you're not going to be able to control the quality of that. There's a high, in any white collar boxing, there's always a high risk of pullouts because a lot of these guys are raw. They might be really nervous. They might sign up and then realize a week before the show they're really nervous and it gets intense because they're starting to hear about the weigh-ins on the day and all of this sort of stuff. And then they might want to stop and they don't want to box. Now, if you've got 80 fighters on a show, there's going to be a lot of those potential people pulling out. Yeah. Especially if you're not in constant communication with them. So if that is the case, what are you going to do? Especially if it's your bread and butter, especially if that's how you live your life by these shows. You're going to end up getting people in that shouldn't be in with that person. I've seen horrific fights. And again, I'm not naming anyone in particular. I'm not naming any particular promotions because there's a lot of people that do it. But I've gone and watched a boxer that I was going to face after that particular bout. So I went to check him out. I went to see how he performed in his first fight, and I was going to fight him as his second fight. And before that, I had my first fight, and so we had both had one. Yeah. Let's call it filler fight before we got in the ring together. And I went to watch him, and the fight he was meant to fight suddenly didn't turn up. Yeah. So they had someone waiting in the wings to jump in with him. Yeah. And I'm sure this guy won't mind me saying he got absolutely slaughtered in that ring. And he was very raw. It was his first fight, as I said, very new to boxing. And a lot of people that know me that will be watching or listening to this podcast will probably know who I'm talking about. But he got absolutely slaughtered. And it was only his granite chin and heart that kept him going because he got through all 3 rounds. Really well. But I just remember watching it going, he should not be in there with that boxer. And I don't know the details about who that boxer was, but he had definitely had a lot of fights. He knew his stuff. He should have been in there with someone with 5 to 10 fights. Yet he's in there fighting this guy and absolutely battering him, like trying to KO him every shot. Because he doesn't know him. He doesn't care. Yeah. He's just in there trying to, maybe he was paid, maybe, I don't know. But whatever it was, I straight away looked at it and went, that is not right. So, go on, Terry.
Did they try and match you against him?
What one? The guy?
The guy with the more experienced guy.
No. Because at the time I had already signed up to fight the guy I'm talking about. And again, I know this guy, a friend of mine now. And I've known him for years, but I remember watching that going, that's not right. Yeah.
I've got to ask you as well, Alfie, is you said you started boxing and we had a little chat before 26 you had your first fight, white collar
Something
fight.
like that,
something
maybe
about
a bit
26,
later.
Yeah. Why did you not go down the route of the traditional England boxing ABA route, amateur boxing route? Yeah. And why was the white collar scene so appealing to you? Because as you said, you heard of all these, you've seen fights where it wasn't unregulated, 40 fights where you wouldn't talk to the promoter and stuff like this. Why was it that you chose, do you know what, I want to do the white collar scene over ABA?
Because it's a really, really good question, and it comes down to what we're trying to do with this RingKingBoxing event is... Okay. If your white collar comes from, of course, your standard, let's just say your office worker who wants to give it a go, have an 8-week camp and have a go. Okay. But then that branches out to people that train in a boxing gym. They might have trained for a year, 2 years. But, they know they're not going to commit to a season of amateur boxing. They just want to get in the ring, experience what it's like to be a boxer in a safe surroundings. Maybe have 1, 2, 3 fights, sometimes more. We've got people on the show that maybe have 6 or 7, but they're never going to commit because, they got kids, they've got, a job that's quite demanding. So they're not going to sign up to a season of amateur boxing. Because when you're amateur boxing, as you know more than me, it's a full-time thing in that sense, where you're fighting almost every weekend, or if not every other weekend through the season. White collar boxing is something that you don't have to do that. You don't have to commit so much. It could be that you fight every 3 months if you wanted to do a year's worth of the shows. But it's for people who don't want to commit fully to a season of boxing, but they want to have an 8-week, 10-week camp and give it a go and feel what it's like to be a boxer. And that's why we want to create this sort of more boutique boxing event where you feel like a pro. I come and do the interviews with you. I come and catch up with you while you're training. You know, I'm constantly, keeping you up to date with everything. You have your weigh-in on the morning of the show to ensure no one's overweight or underweight. You have your medical. You know, you walk into the beautiful venue and see the beautiful canvas there with the lights on it, with your face and picture on the screens. You know, these are things that are a bucket list ticks for these guys, you know. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, again, I didn't have a great experience. But when you finish that bout, no matter how rubbish the promotion's been, you know, it's still an enjoyable thing to take away. It's only until you go to a really well-run event that you think that's what it should be like. And that's what we're trying to create. And, you know, of course, I'm biased to our own show, but me and Alex have been professionals for a very long time in our own careers outside of this event, and we bring that to the show. You know, that's why we recently was called the Rolls Royce of white collar boxing. Now, of course, we've got a long way to go, but for someone even to say that in a genuine way makes us think we're doing something right. With the backing of Val Nutrition, Ian Jumbo Johnson, people that are good names in boxing who know shows and they know what they should be run like. They're seeing the detail that we're putting into it and the care we're taking to make sure that it's a successfully run event. You know, we're going to continue going.
So you're working alongside doing this as well, right? How do you manage your time?
Hard work, mate. Hard work, and using my nights wisely, making sure that I get things done outside of working hours, and making sure that, you know, I'm on top of it. You know, at the end of the day, it's worth it in the end when you see everyone and you get the messages the next day saying, "Oh, at the time in my life, you know, I'll be on the next show. Absolutely loved it. Thanks for everything." That's where I get my buzz from it, mate.
And in all shows we've seen that you're bound to come across some stumbling blocks, right?
Yeah.
What sort of stumbling blocks have you experienced running these sort of events?
I think the real stumbling blocks come at the start, when Alex first decided to create RingKing Events, before now being known as RingKingBoxing. And that's because anything in life that you starts doing well, you're going to have people that might be a little bit bitter towards you. Okay, so you might have other promotions that see you doing something, know that it could be a threat. So what they'll do is they'll try and put a stop to it, won't they? They'll try and make your life hard so you fail. They'll make your life hard so you stop and you get to a point where you don't want to do it anymore, because suddenly it's become very difficult, because people are being manipulated and, you know, people are saying things about you in the show and stuff like that. And I feel like when I got involved, properly with Alex, not just helping him with the shows, but getting involved to run the business and run the platform, a big thing for me was to really sort of like have a push on our social media. It was to have a push on the venue that we're using, which is what I absolutely love. I think it's a fantastic venue to hold any events. But to answer your question and not to digress, is the stumbling blocks are other people. But if you didn't have people trying to put a stop to your hard work and manipulate others and stop you from being successful, you know, you're not doing something great. You know, it's only when you're doing something great that people come out of the woodworks and try and put a stop to it. But one thing with me and Alex is we're very stubborn, and you do that, especially with me. I'll let Alex speak for himself one day, but especially with me, mate, you're not going to stop me very easily, because I'm a very driven individual.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I sort of get that from the impression of where you've taken the shows from how it started to where it is now.
Yeah, defo.
You also run a different page as well. Is it Heavyweight News that you run as well?
It is, yeah. So I've got Heavyweight News, which is where I kind of started on my social media journey, if you like. So I think I have about 12,000 followers on that, and I've not been very active because my time and effort has been on RingKing Boxing. However, it started that I was going around to various gyms. I was interviewing and getting content with, you know, various heavyweight boxers. And yeah, I feel like I was just creating a one-stop shop for all the heavyweight news, literally. And
so any lightweight, move on. We want
well, I had
lightweights.
lightweight news, but it didn't do as well. I actually started up lightweight
Did
news.
it actually?
Yeah, and it didn't do as well because I feel like heavyweight boxing is where it's at the moment, or it certainly was when I was at the pinnacle of doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy doing that. But Ring King Boxing and being involved with a platform like that, and taking it to where it's gone and where it's going is really a passion for me. So heavyweight news has taken a small back step, if you like, and hopefully one day we can merge them together to make Ring King news, if you like, or something like that.
That'd be quality. What do you reckon? What do you make at the heavyweight division going on at the moment? Are you following it much?
I am following it. I'm not following it as much as I was, of course, just because of various reasons. But yeah, it's amazing. Dillian White versus Anthony Joshua fighting now.
What do you think?
I'm going to say Dillian White, and I like them both, but I think Dillian White deserves it.
That's because you're sponsored by Wild Nutrition,
well,
isn't it?
Of course, there's a little bit of bias going on there, but I do feel like Dillian White has the power to turn AJ's lights out. Make no mistake, I completely respect AJ for what he's done and all the fighters he's fought, because if one person's got a fantastic list of opponents, it's AJ. More so than a lot of boxers out there.
Gets overlooked, doesn't it? His opponents get overlooked.
Mate.
He's probably got the strongest CV, I feel.
No, I agree.
Against all.
He does, really. If we're really looking at it, he's fought all of them. Being the champion for as long as he was, he had to, But that should really hold him in high regards with a lot of fans, okay? Yeah. Dillian White, if you look at him when he was coming back against the Povetkin KO and coming back to avenge that loss, that's the Dillian White I want to see in there. Yeah, he was absolutely ferocious, pushing him on the ropes, using his weight, because he's a big lad, Dillian. He's I've met him a couple of times in person at weigh-ins and stuff when I've gone to get content of Johnny Fisher when he was weighing in for one of his first fights and so forth. And he's huge. He's absolutely huge, and all these boxers are. When you stand next to him, because I'm quite a big guy, I stand next to him and they make me look small.
Oh, really?
Yeah, trust me. Even Johnny Fisher.
How tall are you?
6'4".
He's 6'4" as well, ain't he, Dillian White?
Dillian White's probably my height, but size-wise, he's absolute
beast.
Johnny Fisher's a bit taller than me.
Is he?
There's a picture where there's a face-off of me and him.
Is there really?
A few years back, and he just dwarfs me, mate.
Oh, you have to share us. You have to share that with us.
Yeah, I'll share it,
Share that with us.
Yeah, I've got it somewhere.
What's quite interesting about a Dillian White fight, and just one last point, is that he's got nothing to lose in this fight, has he? That's
Not really.
one thing I get.
Not really.
Anthony Josh has got that lucrative fight against Deontay Wilder coming up.
Yeah.
Dillian White, he's like, right, he's getting low pay. He's not being paid right. Sorry, there's no options for him afterwards. So he's got putting it all on the line again in this fight. Yeah. Really intrigued to see how he gets.
I think because it's a rematch, and because all those years ago they stepped up early on in their careers. Both of them took a risk there. It was probably a little bit more risk there for AJ, and obviously come out on top in that fight. Yeah. Although, let's be honest, Dillian White was the first person ever to wobble him. Yeah. And he wobbled him big time in that fight. And then the fact that AJ come back, started boxing again in that particular fight, sticking his tongue out, urging him to come forward and stuff. It was a great domestic dust-up.
One of the greatest, one of the good fights. Great fights I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm an old man, older than we are now, because we're both the same age, that's the sort of fight I'll look back and be showing my grandkids and going, look at this, if they're into boxing, look at this. Yeah. This was a proper dust-up. Yeah. So seeing this next one, hopefully it lives up to the expectations, mate, because it should be big.
We'd be like the people in our 50s, 60s saying, boxing's not like it used to be.
Exactly.
Do you know who I mean?
Yeah, that typical guy moaning.
Well, how about Tyson Fury?
Tyson Fury...
And Francis Ngannou?
I don't ever like talking bad about boxers because I respect them all so much.
Yeah, same.
But with Tyson Fury, I kind of got fed up, mate. I think this will be one of those comments that divides opinion. But I got fed up with the talk. I got fed up with the I'm not in it for the money, I'm not in it for that. But trying to make a fight and then suddenly he's asking for 5 times more than they're offering as a purse. So I kind of got fed up. I'll always like Tyson Fury. I'll always respect him. And I do believe he's the best fighter of our generation.
Do you reckon?
Yes, I do. I truly do. I'm talking about heavyweights now. Yeah, so he's the best heavyweight in my opinion.
Usyk?
Yeah, but I don't... If you ask me about Usyk, I don't know why. I just can't put him in that division. Although he's...
Just beat Anthony Joshua.
Won all the belts, beat Anthony Joshua twice and all of that. I still don't look... Like, again, when I'm older, I won't look back and go, oh, Usyk's a true true champion, true heavyweight champ. He's someone who's come up and completely, smashed things up. But at the same time, I wouldn't look at him like a true heavyweight champion. And that's just me and my opinion.
He's 6'3", right?
Is he?
6'3". That's what they've said, yeah.
Doesn't look that big.
It doesn't. Oh, okay, interesting. From what I've heard, he's 6'3". Same height, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson, what, 5'10"?
Yeah, it's true. Do you know what I think it is though, Terry? If he's in the heavyweight division for much longer, then I might start changing my mind.
Yeah, I think.
Let's look at David Haye. Let's look at Evander Holyfield.
Yeah.
The people that have come up from the cruiserweight division to become heavyweight champs. There was some longevity in that. I feel like it's still quite raw because of the terrible things that had happened in Ukraine. Usyk's fight in, let's just say his fight in life being put on hold for a little while. Yeah. I just feel like it all feels a little bit raw. If he's in it and keeps beating people like he has been, maybe I'll think about it differently. But right now I'm still looking at the true heavyweights that have only ever been heavyweights to be the best, which is for me, Tyson Fury beats Usyk. That's my opinion.
But who did David Haye beat at heavyweight?
Who did David Haye beat at heavyweight? He pulled out of a lot of the fights.
Yeah, he pulled out.
Beat Chisora, which was probably his biggest notable fights in that sort of domestic division. He beat the really big guy, but I can't remember his name.
Yes, the 7-foot giant.
Yeah, he beat him.
I can't remember his name.
Which was quite a big fight, to be fair, in a sense that it was just a spectacle, wasn't it? You looked at it and went, Jesus, this guy's big.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, David Haye's a perfect example, but then when David Haye was fighting, I was still a lot younger, so I probably weren't into boxing as much as I am now. Yeah. But yeah, mate, there's, the heavyweight division's always going to be good. It went quiet for a bit.
When the Klitschko's were there, ruling.
The Klitschko's, all of these big fights that were happening. You just look back on YouTube, for example, and you could type in classic heavyweight bouts and you could sit there for hours enjoying the videos.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Right, I want to go back to Ring King Events.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what the future goals for Ring King Events are.
Okay.
Where do you see this going? Obviously, you've done 9 shows now. As I said, the ones that I've been to, impressed.
Yeah.
Where is it that you think you can grow, and what is it that you want to go and achieve with this?
So we recently had a rebranding. Okay, so you quite rightly, mate, we've called it Ring King Events, but it's now Ring King Boxing.
There we go. See,
so we've had a rebranding. We've got a new logo created, brand new canvas coming on Saturday, July the 29th. Which the boxers can christen, and it's going to be amazing to see under the lights and everything else. For me, the world's our oyster at the moment. I think there's still a lot to fine tune. There's still a lot that we can succeed with, and like I say, just be at the pinnacle of this type of show. And then who knows, mate, after, would I like to sort of one day have a pro show? Absolutely. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but I don't see why we couldn't achieve that, putting our heads together and working like we do. I've known Alex for a long time. We've been friends from school days, I don't even know the age, but 14, let's just say. And we're 33, 34 now. So we've been friends for a long time. Very similar personalities, very driven. Both got kids, both want the best for each other. Are there times where he'll ask me if I approve of something and vice versa, and you just want a yes because you've been working hard on it, but it's like, no, it's not quite right yet. There's always frustrating times, but we work together, and the key is we're really good friends, which means that when you then put that into the work atmosphere and the work environment, it works if you've got a mutual understanding and respect for each other.
How has that loyalty been built over years? Because it's quite hard. Like when you go into partnership with someone, anyone, you can have different views, and you've mentioned about your different views and stuff that you've had there. Yeah. How is it that you can still work and remain loyal and continue that working relationship?
I think there's a difference between friends and really good friends, if that makes sense. Like you say, in this day and age anyway, social media, for example, you think everyone's your friend, but you can only really count your true loyal friends on one hand a lot of the time. Even if you don't see that, a lot of the time, if you really look at who would have your back and who would help you out of a sticky situation, there's only going to be a select bunch that would actually be there for you. Again, some people don't know it. Maybe they're young and they think that everyone's their mate. Social media, they think that everyone's their friend because, they're liking their stories, they're liking their posts. With me, Alex, and my select small group of friends, you know, I'd do anything for them and vice versa, you know, and I know that for a fact. Same with my brother and family and everything. Yeah. So working with Alex and being involved, you know, we'd never have a dispute that's a serious one, you know. And one thing that we agreed when I got involved is that to sign something off, we both have to agree 100%. And that's sometimes where the frustration comes from. Because if Alex has created a poster, for example, and he absolutely loves that poster, he thinks it's amazing because he's been working on it for the last few hours, he'll send that over. And I say to him, I have to be honest. If I don't feel like it's 100% or you can do something better, I'll tell you. So that's where the frustration comes from. But it's only frustration for that 2 minutes. And then what often happens is he'll fix the poster or he'll change it or add something, not to what I've said, but just update it a little bit and maybe, okay, well, let's do this a little bit, let's do that. Yeah. Put our brains together. And then at the end, I always go to him, that's good now, innit? And he'll go, yeah, it's good. So sometimes it just takes a second pair of eyes. Yeah. Now, when Alex was doing it on his own, he still had success. You know, the first show he ever done was huge. Really, really good night. Fantastic. I was there as a supporter of his. I was sort of like, let's just say, the right-hand man for the night. I was running around helping with boxers and whatever else. Still had great success. But having another pair of eyes, and again, not to big myself up, but I will be professional with everything I do. So when Alex asked me to get involved, he asked me probably 5 times before I said yes, because I was so busy with my career outside of the boxing promotion side of things. So it took me a while to say yes, and I know he wanted me to get involved for various reasons. But when I did take it on, I said there's various things we've got to do differently, and he was open to listening, and you know, working together has got us to where we are with it now, which I think is going in a really good direction.
You mentioned about different skills, but what are the key skills? Because you can't both be the same characters, right?
Yeah.
What key skills is it that you feel that Alex brings to it? What are the key skills that you think that Alfie brings to it yourself?
It's a good question, Terry, right? And the reason that's a good question is because a lot of people won't know, because you only really know if you're given the opportunity to find out. But all of us have personality types, right? And with my my normal career, my day-to-day career, I went on a course and I had to fill in loads of questionnaires. I had this interview, and they're trying to see subliminally what my personality type is, okay? And my personality type is all about people. It's, and these aren't my words, but it's like a creative / inspirer is what they kind of put me in the bracket of, okay? Yep. And that's not creative as in I like sitting there and painting and doing artwork. It's creative in a sense that I like to do. So, you know, I never really performed in school when I was having to write essays and stuff like that, but you ask me to do something or be hands-on with it, that's when I can thrive. So that's my side of things. Now, Alex wouldn't have taken the same personality test that I did, but I can tell you from knowing about that test and reading about it, he would be the data side of things. So he would be into the data, the numbers. He would be into, you know, making sure things are done, details, you know, getting those spreadsheets made that are confirming, you know, who's who and what's what, and, you know, where things need to go and where things need to be invested. That's Alex's forte, okay? And I'm sure he'll agree with me. And my forte is the looking after the boxers, going to meet boxers at the gyms, talking to coaches, explaining what we're about. So that's where, and again, I really like that question because it's very valid. That's where some shows won't be successful. Because if you have 2 data-driven people, you're going to clash. Because one of you's going to want to do it one way, one of you's going to do it the other. Yeah. But Alex knows I'm more than happy for him to do those spreadsheets and deal with those numbers. And he's more happy for me to go and drive to the gyms and speak to people and build that rapport with people, because that's what I do in my day-to-day job as well. Yeah. So I take that into my everyday life and into the boxing promotion side of things. And I want people to get to know us. Do you know what I mean? I don't want, no one that signs up to that show will finish that show not knowing us as people. And for me, that's massively important. And that's not just a promotion, that's my regular job as well. That's what I do for a living, basically. Okay. So, you know, I love meeting people. The guys that I've met, and I've built real solid friendships with these guys. A lot of these young boxers, you know, I'm there for advice. I'm there to help them with anything they need. It's a community. And if you watch some of the interviews on our page where I'll go around to gyms to speak to them and everything else, they often talk about communities and how much there is to talk about. You know, even if they've seen each other every day, there's always something going on within the Ring King Boxing League. You know, something's happened. Someone's been offered a title shot. Someone's suddenly decided they want to drop down to cruiserweight from heavyweight. There's always something, and it's given these young guys something to really dedicate themselves to. And, you know, the mental and physical benefits to that are absolutely huge. And that's where I get a huge buzz of mine to do these shows, is to see these guys, you know. So I don't see myself as an older guy, but now I look back, and you might be the same because you're old like me now. But when you think about it and you think, I'm 33 now, you kind of look back and go, what have I done? You know, and I've done well for myself. You know, I really do believe I have. And I'm not talking financially. I'm talking about, you know, where I am with myself, you know, mentally strong, you know, really happy with what I'm doing today and everything else. The show for me is my passion. Okay, something I don't have to do. Alex doesn't have to do it. You know, we're not doing it to pay the bills and pay the rent. We're doing it because we love it, you know. And when I'm with those boxers and I see them turning up on event day and they're buzzing, they've got their bags of them there, can I jump in the ring and move around? You know, that's me getting a buzz from that, because I absolutely love seeing it. And then after the show, when I'm getting the messages, as I said earlier, you know, and everyone's really happy with the way it's gone, everyone's safe, everyone's happy. That's the true passion coming out.
Do you know, you mentioned a little bit about mental health just now. You said about the mental side of things. Have you spoken to boxers about that, have needed that 8-week, 10-week training camp for their mental health, for that aspect of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, people won't be so blunt with it. Like, they won't come up to me and go, I've got mental health issues, I need this camp. I'm not saying you're insinuating that. But the way I'm going to portray it is, you can tell when they do. You could tell they might be down in the dumps. You could tell that, you know, they've got things going on in their life. You know, I often get messages saying, oh, sorry, you know, for the late reply, I'm having issues and stuff like that. So then I can be a person that can listen. You know, I can be someone who, like an older brother figure, if you like, where they know they could talk to me. That's what I want, you know, because I love giving advice. I love helping people with my own experiences in life. The physical benefits has been what's been more prominent in this, because I've seen some boxers turn up and they're 130 kg, 120 kg, and they're short lads, like they're big old young lads, and come fight night, mate, they've dropped down 25, 30 kg. You know,
wow.
We've seen two really huge weight drops. One, Steve Branco, who's fighting for a cruiserweight title, and I can assure you he would have been heavyweight before. He's fighting for the cruiserweight title. You've got Shane Minter, who fought previously. He was a really big lad, and now he's in the shape of his life. You know, we take pride that we help them on that path, because we gave them something to dedicate themselves to. So yeah, we've seen it, mate, and it won't be the first, it won't be the last time that it happens. And that's why we love the show. It's because someone who might not want to sign up to the amateur season or go into amateur boxing and it be that intense, might just want to give it a go. You know, they might just want to do an 8-week camp and have one fight and then move away. You know, I had 2 fights. Alex had 3 fights. You don't have to, you know, put everything into boxing for years and years. If you want to step up and have an 8 to 10 week camp and have a go to tick it off your bucket list and feel what it's like to be a boxer, then white collar boxing, when it's done right with the right building blocks and the right ethos behind it, you're gonna have a good time. Yeah.
So it sounds like this white collar scene has really found a gap in the market. You've got the ABA boxers that do the traditional full calendar. You've got the professional boxers that all year round, but there's a gap there for people that just want to give boxing a go, right?
That's it. It's exactly it.
And then that's where someone like you and Ring King Boxing has come around and done it correctly. They've made sure the matches are done correctly. Yeah. Made sure that the events feels like a proper event. And people are getting that real life experience. That's
100%.
That's the space that I think white collar seems to find itself at the moment.
It is. It is.
Yeah, there's a gap in the market.
Exactly, Terry. And you'll find that if a boxer has a good experience, they'll come back.
Which a lot of the boxers have come back to your shows. Yeah. From the 2 events that I've been there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, and it's quite important to touch on, is white collar boxing Okay, you're not under a contract to fight for a particular promotion. Okay, we've always been very clear with our boxers. If you want to go and try and have a go on a different event because they've got a fight for you, or you like the look of it, or you know it's on the telly, for example, you go and do it. Go and enjoy yourself. Yeah, and we say, just keep us in mind and come back when you're ready. Or if we've got a good fight for you, consider us. But what happens is there's certain shows out there that will try and manipulate the boxer. So they go and have a go on their show, but then they won't allow it for them to come back, because then they'll start saying, oh, well, you're not coming to our gym. You're not coming back onto this show if you do this, you know, this and that. You know, these guys aren't under contract. They're young guys that should be getting the exposure so they can go and fight wherever they want. They can go and get the experience if they want. No one owns them, you know, and there's been various people that have gone away. You know, one person who's coming back for a fight in October fought with us once or twice, went away to a different show. Now he wants to come back and fight, you know, for us for various reasons. Yeah. But the truth is they can go and do whatever they like, you know, and that's how it should be. You know, there's a lot of boxers out there, and the truth is it's them that should be able to choose where they go, and they shouldn't be manipulated with bully tactics.
Love, great approach to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Amazing approach. You've got an event coming up on the 29th of July.
Correct.
This Saturday.
Yeah.
Tell us about the event, man. You've got a couple of title fights on there. Looking forward to those title fights.
I thought you'd never ask, Terry. So one step beyond.
One step beyond.
Honestly, and again, I know I'm biased to my own show. I'm very, very excited about this one, Terry.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. And, you know, we do open sparring trials, okay? So a lot of our events, well, all of our events have an open sparring trial, because that's where we can best match the boxers. Let them move around 30 seconds, a minute, get a feel for who works well together, and then look into that a little bit more. So there's a real process to make these fights. So by the time it gets to the night, you already know that's going to be a banger, because both of them stylistically and fitness and ability-wise matches, okay? So I often get, you know, me and Alex often get compliments at how well the fights are put together, and that's because of the open sparring. Now, we said from the start we're going to do that, and now I'm finding that, you know, and it's a good thing that other shows are now realising we've got to do that. We can't just keep guessing and hoping. So you're seeing a lot of more shows now seeing that that's a benefit that we do, and now they're starting to incorporate into theirs. Come fight night, we're buzzing, because we know we've made some really good fights. This show, we've got 15 absolutely fantastic bouts. I can't call them, Terry. That's the truth. I can't call them. Me and Alex often sit down and do our predictions, and we done that the other day when we were sitting down for a meal with our partners. And honestly, we were there for ages, because because we were trying to, who could it be, who will win, but what about if this person does that? What if they come out? What if they've been working on this? And that's what gives me a buzz. You know, I absolutely can't wait for the show. Two of the title fights, we got Hamza Abbasi versus Joel Herron.
Joel Herron, a friend of the show.
Yeah, he's gonna be in for a tough fight there against Hamza.
Yeah.
Hamza is, for me, maybe a little bit more ferocious and will throw different shots to what I believe Joel's used to. But Joel's got fitness, and he's really quick, and he could also be quite ferocious when he gets that brought out of him. So I personally think Hamza's going to bring out the best in Joel. I think he's going to bring out that real sort of dog mentality in Joel in that ring, and make him and take him to the trenches, let's just say. Thoroughly going to enjoy that fight.
Good. That sounds like a cracking fight.
Mate, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Moving on to the next title fight, we've got Steve Branco versus Jimmy Magina. Now, Steve won his last fight. Yeah. And I actually didn't think he'd do as well as he did, just being completely honest. I didn't think he'd beat his opponent like he did. And then he walked straight over to me. I'm at the side of the ring, and he starts showing me the strap, saying he wants the belt, which I loved, and just sort of like looked up awkwardly at him and just sort of thought, all right, well, let's see what we can do. So we looked and said, you know, we want our cruiserweight champ to be crowned. These two are good fighters, stylistically different. I think Jimmy's got the more technical boxing ability, but Steve is come forward, you know, loves loves a bit of showboating in the ring, and can really take Jimmy to the trenches as well. I mean, at open sparring, we put them together just to check and just to make sure that it works. And genuinely, and we said it to Jimmy and Steve quite openly, that we thought Jimmy would outbox Steve there, and he really didn't. It was so close.
Jimmy, you fought before, right?
I fought him, yeah. I fought him at heavyweight, mate, a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I stayed at heavyweight, and Jimmy put some work in. He's got to cruiserweight. So yeah, fair play to him. And now he's fighting for the cruiserweight title, mate. And again, genuinely proud of him for what he's done. And he's a different fighter now. He'd absolutely wipe the floor with me now.
Yeah, it was really impressed how technically he was in his last fight.
Yeah,
he's put his shots together really well.
And that's what's going to be the stumbling block for Steve. Yeah. It's having someone with that ability and quality throwing shots at you for the whole 5 rounds, because it's a title fight. So it's 5 2-minute rounds.
Oh, 5 2-minute rounds as well.
For the title fights, for both of those title fights. Oh. So we're really looking forward to those. I can't call them. I genuinely can't call them. I couldn't call either of them. And then we've got the big boys, Billy Heron versus Adam Blissett. Adam's got a big crowd coming. And
how many tickets has he sold?
How many tickets has Adam sold? I'd need a little recount, but a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, a lot. Like he's going to have, I think he's got a few tables and a bunch of others coming along. So, a good support for him. Billy's no stranger to the ring. He's not had much luck on, the previous events he's been on. He's yet to have his win. But it just goes to show he fights the proper fighters. He's going in there, he's given them such a good run for their money, but he's just coming up short. So is this a time that he gets his hand raised? It's going to be a big thing for him if he does. But he's got big Adam Blissett coming at him, mate. So it's going to be tough, mate, for both of them.
Yeah, man. Go on.
I was going to say there's a few other notable ones. We got a gentleman called Abbas fighting Isaac. Isaac's coming back for his second fight. He drew with Umair Raza at the last show, and I believe a lot of people was expecting Isaac to win that because he's quite technically sound. Yeah. But Umair fighting under Average Mose, he's really come along.
Good gym, Average Mose as well.
Yeah, well, they got a great coach, great head coach, Mo there, who's willing to put everything into the boxers as long as they show that same determination and consistency in getting to the gym and training with him. But he worked wonders with Umair. I mean, Umair was so proud of him after that because, like I said, a lot of people were expecting Isaac to win that. We knew that Umair could do it. We knew that's why we put the fight on, because we knew that he had the quality, especially under Mo, and they got a draw. So we're hoping to run that back in October.
He was unlucky as well.
Yeah, it was close.
It was a close fight.
It could have went either way. And it really could have.
Because after his first fight, he didn't perform so well, right?
He didn't. I think he had the wrong coaches with him. The coaches apparently told him to go out and try and take your opponent's head off. So he's gone into the middle of the ring, met in the middle of the ring with someone who wants to trade. Yeah. And literally, if two men are throwing leather at each other, someone's going to get caught on the chin. And instead of using his boxing like he did in his second fight, he come unstuck and got KO'd.
Do you know what, that just shows great character.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like after your first fight,
and
he got KO'd in the first fight. Yeah. A lot of people say, "Forget this, I'm done." No,
absolutely.
But he went, I want to come back and right the wrong. Yeah. That shows a lot of character, loads of heart to go and get back in there.
It's the ability to be critical of yourself, isn't it? He was able to see where he went wrong there, and the confidence to say, "I didn't go wrong. I didn't get KO'd when I was at my best. I was silly." And walked into the middle of the ring and just decided to. Could have been the other way around. He could have caught him and carried on that style of fighting. Yeah. But Umair is best when he's boxing because he's quick, really quick. And that's why he took it to Isaac. And hopefully we can run that back in October, which I think will be a really well-received rematch from a lot of the supporters of RingKingBoxing. And then, of course, there's various others. We've got Kian Hennessy coming back facing Theon. That's a great fight. We've got Ethan versus Armstrong. Armstrong's quite a popular guy. He's bringing a big crowd. He's under Average Mose at the moment as well. So hopefully we're hoping to see a lot of boxing ability from him. And that's just to name a few. We've got 15 of those really close fights.
Who's the one he fought? I can't remember the guy's name now, but he's really technical. Real technical, but I think 64, 79, 60, and 69 kilo. He was coaching in the corner in the last fight. I think he's making his return to this week as well.
Who is that? I'm not sure.
Really skillful. It looks like he's got a bit of amateur background about him.
You could be talking about Joe Wilson.
Joe Wilson, I think his name.
Yeah, so Joe Wilson's coached a couple of the boys, you know, previously, and he was on the previous show, one of the previous shows.
Yeah.
He's not going to be on this show,
Oh,
but we're aiming to get him a title fight for October.
Oh,
So that's in the pipeline. That's in talks at the moment. Nothing's finalised or over the line yet, but that's going to be one of the aims to get Joe back.
Apologies, I thought I saw him that he was back in the ring.
No, that's all right. Mate, there's a few technical guys, so I didn't know who you meant.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're trying to get him back for October, mate.
Yeah, nice, man, nice. So everything in place, everything ready to go?
Everything's ready. Yeah, final bit of preparation, mate, to get things going. You know, tickets are still available online. So if anyone who is listening wants to come along and see for themselves what it's about, you know, it's not just about the boxing. We've got a fantastic DJ. We've got, you know, auctions in between. It's in a nightclub setting, so you can have a drink, day drinking, you know, enough time when it finishes around 9 p.m. to go out and have a night out. So if anyone does want to come along, just head to the Eventbrite website, type in One Step Beyond, and you could grab your tickets.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Alfie, thank you very much, man. Is there anything else that you want to say before?
No, mate,
finishes?
apart from thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming down and your time. It's great to find out more about Ring King Boxing, how it started, more about you, the future goals of it as well. It sounds all positive, and like I said, I've been there before. I'm really impressed with the setup and stuff. Look forward to doing more work with you guys in the future as well.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.